Hey everybody, it's Bunn, and I'm back once again with another video for you guys. Just a quick announcement before this video actually begins. 1,000 apologies for my lack of content recently. Real life and university commitments have just been getting in the way. My video output is going to be sporadic again for the next few weeks. Unfortunately, I have exams coming up, so they'll need to take priority for a little while. But I promise as soon as the exam period is over, I'll be back to my hopefully regular schedule, and I'll be putting out a lot more videos for you guys. So please bear with me on that. Today I'm going to be reviewing the comics that I picked up this week, with one back issue reviewed from a same series I'll review here. So without further ado, let's get into these reviews. First up this week, as you can see, we have Magneto, issue number 3, which picks up right after the events of issue 2. And we have our SHIELD agents chasing up the last lead they had on Magneto, which was that he went to this homeless community in Down Acres, where he was chasing up a lead on an unwitting and unwilling human sentinel hybrid, which the unfortunate person was actually a member of this community and was actually forcibly abducted and then converted into as I said, a human sentinel hybrid against his will. So we have the agents of SHIELD chasing up that lead and also interrogating Samuel, who is the head of the community, and they are basically forcing them to vacate the premises which they've lived on for a while, and they're once again trying to pick up Magneto's trail. And speaking of Magneto, we have Eric as he is chasing up a lead on the manufacturing facility where the human sentinel hybrids are being created, after he interrogated one of the would-be kidnappers at the end of the last issue. And so you have Eric using his powers in less than conventional ways, and you have him also inner monologuing about the fact that in the younger years of his life he would be able to basically rip the structure from its foundations and cast it off into space, or he would also be able to basically reduce the facility to rubble with a bit more than a bit of concentration on the wave of his hand. But nowadays, with his powers being broken after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men and being touched by the Phoenix Force, he's having to use more conventional means to accomplish his goals. So we then have Eric infiltrating the facility and basically going further into the depths of the facility to basically find out how these human sentinel hybrids are being created, but also to find out who's actually behind it. And again, in Eric's inner monologue, he's mulling over the fact that these sentinels have been specifically designed to hunt and kill mutants since the sentinels were first created. And there's also some really great, fantastic color work, as ever, by Jordie Bellaire, where when Magneto is reminiscing over the flashbacks and the memories that he has of Genosha, which is the mutant island paradise which he ruled over, and he was basically giving mutants a place where they could live in peace away from the Homo sapiens or the humans. But unfortunately the Sentinels came and destroyed Genosha, and 16,000 mutants lost their lives in the destruction of Genosha. And Magneto is in a monologue with the fact that it was meant to be a paradise, but it turned into a mass grave. And also the flashbacks done in red by Jordie Bellaire also might signify, as I said, 16 million mutants lost their lives on Genosha. So it might also signify just the amount of blood that was spilt by the Sentinels when they destroyed Genosha. So you see Magneto reminiscing over that. At the same time, you have a mention of his old friend Charles Xavier, who died at the end of Avengers vs. X-Men, and he's also mulling over the fact that he told Charles time and time again, humans and mutants are dangerous, but Charles, he felt, wouldn't listen. But now, if anything, humans and mutants, in Magneto's mind at least, are more dangerous than they've ever been. If ever they've not been, they've always been dangerous, but now it's getting to a whole new level. And there's a really great scene where Magneto uses a magnetic pulse to basically map out his path through the facility and to basically find the person responsible. And he does, and it's a female doctor who is responsible for the manufacturing of these Sentinels. At the same time, you have some really great action scenes of Magneto, firstly being wounded, but then also basically taking out some unfinished and incomplete Sentinels at the same time. And he's also in a monologuing with the fact that because his powers aren't what they used to be, he's not going to get out of this fight without getting bloodied, but he's also not going to just lay down and die. The memory of 16 million of his people dying on Genosha is enough for him to keep going and to keep up the fight. And he eventually manages to subdue the Sentinels, and as you can see there's some pretty grisly stuff of the heads of the 3 Sentinels that he's just dispatched floating above him as he's interrogating this female doctor about what she's doing in this facility, who's responsible, why is she making these Sentinels. And she says at first that she won't cooperate, she won't do what Magneto wants her to do. So Magneto once again just does something just awesome and villainous and just a bit downright just what he does is he forces a paperclip up the doctor's arm from a small incision, and every time she doesn't want to do something, he just forces the paperclip further and further up her arm, and as you can see from the bottom panel on this page, it's just moving even further up her arm the more she doesn't want to cooperate. And you have Magneto basically saying, you know, even I'm shocked over the fact that you rolled over this easily in order to do what I want you to do. And you get the doctor's reasonings behind why she's making these Sentinels, and she puts it down to the fact that she just wants humans to be safe, and she doesn't want to harm mutants. But the 2 casualties which Magneto has been chasing up leads on since the first issue of this series, they were just oversights. They weren't meant to happen, but unfortunately they did, and that is even more prevalent in Magneto's mind, along with the circumstances with Genosha. And she just says that, you know, it's meant to be a safe refuge for humans. We don't want to harm mutants. We just want to be safe from mutants that might not realize exactly what they can do. But then Magneto in his time has seen so much of this from the human race that he has enough of it. He knows that this facility, it has to go. And so he does actually destroy the facility, but I won't give away how he does it. But there's a pretty ominous and a pretty scary final page of Magneto. This sort of chapter in his Hunt for the Mutants, hunters who've been creating the Sentinels, is over, but there's more of it going forward. Just another fantastic issue from Cullen Bunn in terms of the writing and the storytelling. Gabriel Hernandez Walter's artwork is still absolutely fantastic, and of course Jordie Bellair's colouring is equally up to par with both the writing and the artwork as well. She just does a fantastic job as ever. Just another fantastic issue of Magneto, and I cannot recommend you pick up Magneto highly enough. Next up we have All New X Factor issue number 6. I'm just going to go over this issue fairly quickly, as this came out a few weeks ago. But you have the team of X Factor, which consists of Polaris, Quicksilver, Gambit, and Danger, paying Doug Ramsey a visit, or Cypher, as they want to basically talk to Doug regarding Warlock's behavior, along with the Magus, or the Magus, is M-A-G-U-S, however you choose to pronounce that, which is Warlock's father, who attacked the team while they were at Several Industries in the last issue. And so you have the team going to pay Doug a visit to find out exactly how or why Warlock is working with his father, who they're supposed to hate each other. You also have another conflict building between Harrison Snow's wife and his assistant Linda back in Several Industries, and you have Harrison's wife basically confronting Linda over her basically her sexual relationship with her husband. And at first Linda tries to deny it, but then she, as in Harrison Snow's wife, she makes a threat saying she doesn't like being lied to and she'd rather Linda be honest, but of course Linda instinctively denies all the allegations. So it'll be interesting to see if that particular threat plays out in the later issues. There's a pretty gnarly and a pretty grisly scene of Danger actually digging a piece of Warlock's sort of body, if you will, out of Doug's chest. And you have the reactions of some of the team members just reacting understandably horrified as to what Danger's doing. But then you have the team basically paying a visit to both Magus, or Magus, however you choose to pronounce it, and Warlock. You have some really great back and forth banter between the characters, particularly between Warlock, Danger, and Doug. And you have the friendship that has been built up between Doug and Warlock shining through in this issue, particularly in this scene where Warlock reveals that he's worried about Doug and his mental state and what he plans to do, which we also saw at the beginning of the issue that Doug was actually contemplating suicide, and this is the reason as to why Warlock put a piece of his body inside Doug's chest in the first place, just so he could keep an eye on him because they're friends. And so at the end of the issue we have Warlock basically deciding, even though he's patched things up with his father, he decides to basically leave the sort of sanctuary that they built for themselves and to join up with X Factor, which then segues into this week's issue of X Factor, which is issue number 7, which we have the team, which is now fully formed, and we have basically some more great back and forth banter between Quicksilver and Danger over the fact that Danger is reading a book that has been written by a anti-mutant author who also has a young daughter with father issues. And so you have Doug basically showing this to Pietro and basically coming to Pietro saying, this girl's got father issues. I thought this might be something you'd be interested in, given that Pietro's relationship with his father Magneto has been less than loving over the years and has been quite strained, to say the least. So then we have the rest of the team, obviously consisting, like I said, of Polaris, Gambit, Danger, Warlock, Cypher, Quicksilver. Anyway, we have all 6 members of the team basically coming to the agreement that they're going to pay Georgia, the mutant author's, or alleged mutant-hating author's daughter, Georgia, a visit. So they decide to go to their home and basically find out if Georgia's issues with her father and if she's being held there against her will, in terms of being held captive, are actually true. And so you have some really great fun between the home defense systems of the author's name is Scott Dakey, I'm pronouncing that, or Dakai. It's Dakei, however you choose to pronounce that. Some really great fun between the home defense systems and the almost real life holograms that Danger is able to project from her, I guess, machinery, I guess you could say. So there's some more great banter between the characters as they enter the home to try and find Georgia, which they eventually do. And there's another great scene between Doug and Warlock, where Warlock reveals, or he might potentially have feelings for Danger, and there's some great back and forth banter between he and Doug, where Doug basically tells him don't worry about it, where Warlock just turns around and says, are you sure? Or his self-friend's Doug sure? And Doug just says, Doug's friend is always sure, which I thought was some really great fun banter. So then the team finds Georgia, and she doesn't seem all that bothered about the fact that her father went a bit nuts at the start of the issue, and she doesn't want to go anywhere. But Doug doesn't react very kindly to this, and he believes that she is being held captive, even if she doesn't realize it. And there's a really shocking final page at the end of this issue. I'm not sure if this is if the end of the issue, in terms of what is showcased, is gonna stick. But it's definitely a really quite shocking ending, which I didn't expect. But I'm definitely going to still be picking up this series because Peter David is still doing an absolutely fantastic job on the writing and the storytelling. as well as the equally fantastic artwork of Carmine Giamenko and Lee Laufridge on colours. Just another fantastic issue of All New X Factor, and it's easily one of my favourite X books right now, along with Magneto and All New X-Men. All New X... Amazing X-Men, rather. And finally this week, for my reviews, we have Moon Knight, issue number 3, which picks up... actually, after the... well, it doesn't actually pick up anywhere. It's another self-contained story, but there's a character which reappears in the next few pages, which I'll go into in a second. But the story begins, and we have two New Yorkers walking through Manhattan, which looks to be perhaps during the winter or upon the eve of Christmas Eve. And they are seemingly attacked by a gang of punk ghosts. And so you have Mark Spector, or Moon Knight, arriving on the scene and basically trying to combat these ghosts. But unfortunately for Moon Knight, he tries to punch one of the ghosts, but his fist goes straight through. And unfortunately for Mark Spector, he quickly discovers that he might not be able to harm the ghosts or be able to touch them, but they can harm and touch Mark Spector. So he gets his ass seemingly kicked by these ghosts, and so he goes back to his mansion, and who should be there sort of consulting him, and he's seeking advice from, but Khonshu, who we saw at the very end of the first issue. And you have Khonshu basically referring to Moon Knight once again as his son, and basically this issue delves in more into the ancient Egyptian mythology. It also delves into mysticism and the supernatural. It also delves into I think this is true, I'm not sure. It's up for debate, but I think it's the angry ghosts that come back after dying violently that can actually touch the living. And this is actually related back to Mark Spector by Khonshu, and he says that the angry dead can reach out and touch the living. I did, which goes right back to the origin of Mark Spector or Moon Knight, when upon dying led by the statue of Khonshu reached out, touched Mark Spector and brought him back to life. And so you have Khonshu also going into the fact that during ancient Egyptian times they used to prepare their dead for the next life or the afterlife. They used to prep them with specifically made clothing, riches, etc., when they were buried in their sarcophagi. I think I hope I'm pronouncing the plural. I know the first one of them is a sarcophagus, but I think it's sarcophagi in terms of the plural. So you have Khonshu basically saying to Mark Spector, you've got tools and, utilities to fight the living. Why have you not got utilities and clothing to fight the dead? So then you have Mark Spector going back to the same area as he was at the start of the issue. He goes back for a second round with the ghosts, and he looks really awesome, badass, and extremely creepy in this suit of armor with the sort of the beak of Khonshu, which I guess might be part of the armor. And you see the ghosts' expressions on their faces thinking, oh crap. And then we have basically some really great action of Moon Knight basically getting into fisticuffs with the ghosts and dispatching them seamlessly with the aid of this armor and these utensils and weapons that he's using, thanks to the Khonshu's advice, I guess. So you have just basically the ghosts are either fleeing in terror or they're trying to once again, put Moon Knight down, but unfortunately it's now their turn to receive a beating, if you will. So just more fantastic artwork and colouring from Declan Shalvey and Jordie Bellaire. Just another absolutely fantastic issue of Moon Knight. And so once the ghosts have been dispatched, the last remaining members decide to flee. So you then have Moon Knight basically breaking off into pursuit of these ghosts, or the remaining ghosts of the bunch. And I'm not going to give away how the issue ends, but it is, as I said at the start of the issue, with the relation to angry ghosts being able to touch the living. That is heavily implied, but it's not necessarily confirmed. But this has just been another absolutely fantastic and stellar issue of Moon Knight from the creative team. Warren Ellis, again, does a fantastic job on the writing and the storytelling. Declan Shalvey's artwork continues to be absolutely fantastic, and Jordie Bellair's colouring continues to be just absolutely beautiful and just really brings Declan Shalvey's artwork to life and just really gives this book a feel all of its own, and it's just another fantastic issue of Moon Knight. If you've been following the series, or if you've been hesitant about picking up the series, so far the series has been a series of sort of one and done or anthology stories. So if you wanted to pick up this issue, then you wouldn't really have much to worry about in terms of being caught up. Just another fantastic issue, like I said, and this is probably, I don't normally do this, but I think Moon Knight and Magneto are probably tied for my pick of the week. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to both of them this week. I'm not going to decide which is better than the other. But yeah, just all fantastic books for me this week. And that concludes this review video, guys. As always, thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs it down. But as I always say, if you thumbs down the video, by all means, please feel free to tell me why in the comment section below, or send me a private message. Let me know in the comments below if you read any of these issues. If you read any of these issues, what did you think? Are you going to be picking any of these books up, or are you going to be waiting for trade on some of them? Yeah, just let me know what you thought in the comments, and let's get a discussion going. As always, this has been your host, Gambit896, signing off, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, guys.